Hi, my name's Irrelevant, and the sound of your cab is very important. My habits have changed a little bit lately with how I use them, so I'm going to be doing some driver shuffling to try to just try something different. So this story starts, maybe 15 years ago when I acquired this JCM 800 cab. It came with Celestion G12L35 drivers, not the stock G12 T75s. They have this kind of dull sound to them, not particularly sensitive, and not particularly high wattage. I guess they're okay. They're actually not too bad for friggin' bedroom volume levels because you can turn up your volume a little bit more. But they sound like ass with the 800 head. It's an 800 cab that sounded like ass with the 800 head. But I'm guessing it was the lower end variant at the time. And if you didn't want to pay the full price for the G12 T75, and they just put the same damn label on it. Now this is my crate amp. This is one of my babies. Well, both of these are my babies. This guy came with the stock, whatever drivers that the cheaper Blue Voodoo cabs came with. Originally, I had bought a set of Eminence governors to go in here, the vintage 30 equivalents, and because I scored a deal, I ended up with another set of Eminence wizards to match with them. So I only had two governors in a 412 cab with wizards on the other side. Now I'm not sure how I feel about that match. You always live in this existential pondering of like, what if I had 4 match set of the same drivers? I don't know. But I found that combination was a bit too bright. This is a brighter sounding amp. Now, this is the amp I'm playing most often these days because it's just the most convenient, I can plug right in, no overdrive pedal, has the distortion I need. It's got switchable clean if I want some clean. Very convenient. The crate Blue Voodoo is an extremely underrated amp. I get why some people don't like it, but at the same time, this guy's not exactly stock. Enter this guy right here. Used to be a Crate GX130C combo. Solid state, just wasn't doing it for me later in life. The damn thing was a boat anchor, so I converted it. I gutted it and converted it to a 212 cab, open back. Currently in there are a pair of Eminence Swamp Things. Quite fond of these drivers, and I find they sound excellent with the crate. But again, the existential quandary is that I only got 2 of them. This guy's a unicorn. Surprised I found one of these. I upgraded it too with an Eminence Swamp Thing, an 8 ohm. These are both 16 down here. So I'm pretty much leaving this guy alone, but what I'm gonna be doing here is pulling all these cabs apart and pulling all the drivers out and trying to ponder a combination, because I know I want to drop these Swamp Things back into this crate cab, but then I'm thinking I need something for the other side. Now, option 1, I pull the 3rd Swamp Thing out of here, and then I can have 3 Swamp Things into there. That's an 8 ohm. This is a stereo cab. 2 sets of 16 ohm speakers is 2 8 ohm sets, so I could have 1 8 ohm set of these 2 speakers, and then just this single 8 ohm on the other side, and yeah, I can rig that oddball impedance to work together. So that's convenient if I want to go a tri-pack in this guy, and maybe that'll get me the effect I want. Otherwise, these guys might match good with 2 of the drivers. They're in that Marshall cab. The question is, do I want to tarnish and take apart that Marshall cab? That speaker set sounds pretty good in there. Remember, the Marshall sounds like ass with the G12L35s. The Marshall cab came stock, looking like this. I guess they lost the back panel, but they didn't do too bad of a job fitting a new one. They did a crap job with this. They just kind of drilled a hole halfway through. They drilled a smaller hole and then freaking put the jack in there, and then it broke off. I finally put a metal back plate in there, and then at some point more recently I rigged up an impedance switch. I think that came out of an old computer power supply. It says 115 volts, 230, but no, it's impedance. I made it all nicely recessed so that you can put the cab laid down on its back if you have to. All right, let's crack this pupper off. Oh, there it is. Well, I'm gonna have to remember how I wired this. I kind of want to do this thing where I isolate the governors from the wizards so that I can hear the differences in tone between them. Because I want to try to determine which one might mate with the Swamp Things better. As you can imagine, this is a lot of head scratching and figuring out and deciding, how do I want to do here? What do I want to do here? One thing's for sure, the Swamp Things are coming out of this pupper, you know. Hey. Okay. Disconnect, I say. Disconnect. This particular baffle assembly got upgraded with T-nuts. That allows me to uninstall and install drivers as much as I want without really wearing out the holes. Looks like I was missing a screw. Oh yeah, they're free now. I actually integrated a bit of a power soak into here. If you flick it up, it adds a whole bunch of high power resistors into the circuit to theoretically divide the power, but I don't know how well it actually works in practice. It didn't kill the power that much. And I just realized that this thing's upside down. What the hell? How did that happen? Oh, finally the crate cab is the more fragile of the bunch. Oh, this has a quick disconnect in it, so there it is. G12L35s. Plain Jane kind of boring sounding drivers. You know, seeing such flimsy wires doesn't exactly instill confidence. What gauge are these? It does not even say what gauge these are. Perhaps it is trade secret to let you know you don't know they are undersized. That makes me wonder now, if I went in there and upgraded the size of all the wiring to at least 16 gauge, if I might get a little bit more out of it, you know what I mean? Now, if I remember correctly, I never did the T-nut upgrade to this, so we're still bolting directly into the friggin' wood with this. These drivers. They're not nice enough to really use, but they're not nice enough to throw away either. Haha, they're light. Like, look how small the magnets are on these puppers. Careful, they're a bit heavier. So what we've done here is we've set up this blind experiment, or not really blind, but you know, I have the wire. To be brutally honest, the lack of cab resonance is really making it difficult to determine. So I think I'm just gonna have to put the work in and do swaps. Good thing I have that nice little 212 to work with. Right, it's there like that. I just have to connect the wires. Fortunately, I can cut a few corners. Doesn't really need the baffle bolted in. It'll work fine without that. So let's see what we have here now. Instantly, way more low end. Well, it's definitely a different sound than I'm used to. Debatably a sound I haven't heard before. Not out of this rig. A lot of wah 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 mids, but that's probably just because it's a crappy open back cab. Something funny sounding about it. Let's drop an old Wizzy in there now and see what happens. Yeah, it goes together pretty quick. So there's certain aspects of the mids that I'm liking better. Sounds a little bit less honky, ha 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 ha. But the crunch is a bit more fuzzier. Fish, 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 fish. Fish, 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 fish. Fish, 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 fish. You know? Fish, fish, fishy crunch. Fish, 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 fish. Well, I gotta swap back. I might be here a while. Yeah, I think I figured it out. The Wizards have a bit of a fuzzier tone to them, and the Governors maybe add a bit of grain. And you see, the Crate is already a bit of a fuzzy sounding amp, so it needs a grainier driver. So I'm definitely, after flip-flopping back and forth, digging the combination of the Governor and the Swamp Thing together. So I think that's what I'm going to officiate into my Crate cab. The Wizards, maybe that's what I didn't like about the combination of the Governor and the Wizards in the Crate cab. Maybe the Wizards were the wild card. Then the question is, what do I do with them? I'm probably going to have to put them in the Marshall cab just to make that cab do something good. Otherwise, my Marshall's just going to sound like crap. Oh, look at all that. I need two more something something just to officiate this. It is honestly bugging me that it's like incomplete, you know? It's just incomplete. All right, now the thing to do is an X pattern. I want one of these up here. Oh boy, be very careful. Wouldn't that be awful if you punctured it? Now, when you're installing a driver, you really want to watch your torque. If you put the screws too tight, it will bend and warp the basket. If you're using power tools, it's good advice to do final torque manually. Or use something with a little less power to it. On that note, I'm actually going to switch to the skill. I don't reef them right down right away. Put them like halfway down and then, you know, wiggle the driver a bit, make sure all the screws line up. And I typically like to do the rotational X pattern, kind of like you would if you're putting on a car tire. Tight hole, bud. Oh, of course the casters are mounted with G-nuts, bud, but it wasn't good enough to mount the speakers with them. They're not intending you to pull them in and out and in and out and in and out. All the wires I need should be on file here. It's just a case of getting them on there, man. And we have left and right stereo sets here. Nope, packets. Oh. And of course these guys are getting loose now. It's the other thing you gotta worry about, tightening up your damn little clampy bits. Really, blue was the positive. I think I have another set of these leads hiding somewhere. I'm gonna need them. Wow, I'm so lucky I remembered where these were. All right, squish, 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 squish. Now, are these all the same length? Pretty much. All right. We have what we need to proceed, sir. All right, she's all wired. It's not that classy looking, but it's gonna do fine. Now, we're gonna connect the wire and schlep this pupper into place. However, we're not done yet. Oh no, no, we are not done yet. We are not done yet. Before we go battening down the hatches, we want to do a function check to make sure we got this all correct. Now, to do the function check on a cab, you need a couple of things. You need a speaker cable, obviously. You need a 9-volt battery, and then you need another speaker cable or a dummy end like this guy here. So we're gonna go ahead and plug into the main mono input on this cabinet. And then if you look at the battery, it has positive and negative. Positive is the small round, and the positive is gonna be on the tip, and the negative is gonna be on the sleeve. So we gently tap it, and what we're looking for is to see that all of the speakers are pushing outwards. If one's pushing inwards, it's out of phase, it's hooked up wrong. Indeed, they're all pushing outwards. Now, if there's a switch setting on the back, like 8 and 16 ohms, right now it's set to 4, I'm gonna set it to 16, try that again. Yep. Now, I'm gonna take the dummy jack and I'm gonna plug it in to the stereo side, right? Because you're gonna have a stereo setting. If you plug two in at the same time, it will separate it to stereo. So now that should shut off two of the speakers. Oh, make sure to have your cab set to stereo if it has a switch for that function. All right, the main left is pushing the governors. Now swap those around. Put the dummy jack in the main, put your speaker cable in the second, and there we go. The two Swamp Things are kicking. I've got it set up correctly. The speakers are matched together, they're all pushing forward. We got a full function check going on here. Now, we can snip the screws back in it. Now, because this plywood has been taken apart and put back together so many times, I'm not entirely sure if it's safe to be using an impact driver on it. I'll try a few and see what happens. That's fine. So fast. Again, with this, I like to do the cross pattern, like as if you were putting on a car tire. Remember to have a good bit if you're going to go this fast. There's also a technique to using an impact driver, so if you're not used to it, maybe stick with something a little bit more simple. I'm going to final check some torques here. To think there were times that I did this all manually. Ha! We're back together now, bud. Let's see if this thing's got some fury for us. Make sure you double check so your impedances are matched. immediately it sounds warmer. And yeah, less fuzzy. I almost feel like I can turn up the highs on this. Well, as far as the crate goes, that's mission accomplished. Got a nice tight punch out of it. Swamp Things are known for that. And, you know, the Governors keep it together too. Definitely having a bit more defined mid out of it than I got out of the Wizards or the G12Ls. And not too fuzzy. Not too fuzzy. It kind of looks goofy with the two different sized kind of eyes cones in the middle. You can see, like, one's little, one's big, but yeah, we can deal with that. It's just aesthetic after all. So this guy's done. What do I do with the rest of these? Oh boy. In the meantime, we got the crate doing what I want it to do. Probably the best I've ever heard it sound, but I've also been tone modeling it with the tubes there. There's about 3 different kinds of preamp tubes in there that I've kind of been swapping around, trying to make it chooch just right the way I want it to. So that's mission accomplished. I do most of my playing these days in that guy, and that's the guy I want it to sound right. This guy, I might do that Swamp Thing experiment, but not today.